Last year, you all did a sold out reunion event in New York City. How soon after did you realize you want to get the band back together for another go? And how does this upcoming event build on the past ones?
I think we were on stage for about 30 seconds and we all said, we're doing this again. It's one of those things that we've always, over the years, we're always like, hey, let's get the band, quote unquote, back together. Let's hang out. Let's do something. And after we did the Save by the Max one in LA pre-COVID, and that sold out like that, like three concerts, like nothing. And then COVID happened, and then we were all trying to, come up with an idea. What can we do? What can we do? And then the New York thing, Jenny kind of was the producer behind that. Just had like these amazing plans and dreams and visions, and she got Brent and Kelly and Jay and Michael and William and Diana. I mean, to have the whole band back minus Heidi was absolutely amazing, and the fans were so wonderful that evening. But every time we were putting it on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, everyone was like, "Come to LA or come to here or come to there." So it kind of it blossomed itself. And then Brent and Jenny, once again, Jenny with the amazing, brilliant business mind that she has, and an amazing team with Scott and with Ashley and the rest of the Dreams. We kind of made this happen. So it's gonna be an amazing event.
I appreciate that it feels like such a celebration of the fans. And, when you initially auditioned for the show, you were also in a running for a role on Party of Five, which you
Yeah.
also got. What made California Dreams stand out to you?
The honest answer or the answer that the audience wants? The honest answer was like Party of Five. Hindsight's 2020, but Party of Five was on a network called Fox, and Fox was not a network at the time. It was they were renting space from another
Mm.
primetime outlet, and it was a pilot plus six, and which is, or excuse me, a pilot plus five, so 6 episodes total of primetime television. But there's no guarantee that it was going to go anywhere. Dreams had legs, man. It had arms. It had a brain. It had a heart. It had a massive following, and they offered me 39 episodes. So it was like, you do the math. Hindsight's 2020, as I said earlier on. But I don't know, like, if I would have known truly the track, right, that Dreams and Party of Five, what it would have done, I still think I probably would have took Dreams. If
Yeah.
like knowing I look back now and okay, I know everything that Dreams had and everything that Party of Five had, would I have still taken Dreams? And I think I would have. I really do. It was like there was just something very nostalgic about California Dreams. Like it was a show before its time, and then it's timeless now, right? I mean, it's where's Party Five now? All of those kids are now, I mean, Scott Wolf and Jennifer Love Hewitt and all of them, Nev, they all went on to like do like amazing things in their careers. But we all did okay for ourselves, and Dreams now still lives with an
Yeah.
amazing fan base, still out there. We wish you'd get on a platform. I wish Peacock would just pick us up and just be like, dude, put it out there, but so yeah, it wasn't a hard decision. My business team, my manager, more importantly, the most amazing person in my world, my daddy, just turned 80 yesterday, by the way. So, Dad, if you're watching this, I love you, Zeke. But it was like it had to make more sense. It was 39 episodes, and the funny caveat of that is when you sign a contract with a network, they guarantee you 13, right?
Mm.
With the chance of having 39, right? And that this was back in the days when 13 was a season. Like that was a full order back in the 90s. Now it's 26 as an order, right? But that was like, so it's like, if I get it and if I do well for 13, they're going to give me 2 more seasons. Plus, we did another season thereafter. Now, if you ask anybody, there's only 5 seasons of California Dreams. There is only 5 seasons. But if mathematically you look at it, there's actually 8 seasons of California Dreams. If you look at it mathematically, of 13 episodes a season. So,
Yeah.
but neither here nor there. The fifth season never came out. I mean, you can't even find the DVD anywhere. So,
Mm. Yeah, when I
yeah.
spoke with Jay a little while back for the New York event, I told him the same thing. Like, a streamer just needs to pick this show up because they don't make television shows like California Dreams anymore. And somebody who's played this character for over 30 episodes, what did you learn from Mark that stuck with you to this day?
I did 40, I did what, 49 episodes, 40, 48, 49 episodes. Um, A lot of Mark and a lot of I were very similar. Our writers, Ron and Brett, and our amazing writing staff that we had, they knew us very well, and they knew our vernacular, and they knew our cadence and our rhythm and our timing. So they wrote a lot of the dialogue based on what we, and how we spoke. Mark and I were so polar. We were really, really polar. I mean, I'm, as you can see, a full sleeve of tattoos and both my ears pierced. And, back in the 90s, I smoked. And I'm not going to lie, I drank. And like, I was not this clean cut All American kid that Mark was. I was still a very clean cut All American guy. Don't get me wrong. I was not there hooting and hollering, but I was not as innocent and pure as Mark Winkle was. And I remember a couple of episodes where I had to take my shirt off, and I had tattoos, and they had to cover the tattoos because Mark did not have tattoos. Jake Summers could have had a tattoo. That would be cool.
Mhm.
Like that's yeah. But the funny thing is I rode Harley Davidsons.
Yeah.
I rode my sport bikes. I liked fast cars, and Mark was slow. But I think the biggest takeaway from Mark, which I had already had instilled in me, but it still plays this day, is the whole it's okay to say no, and not just to drugs, not just to alcohol, but to everything. It's okay. The word no is an acceptable answer in the right circumstances. You
Mm.
know, I think California Dreams that way was so before its time. I mean, we had the first Asian female lead on a television show. I mean, that broke barriers, right? And then we had a Hispanic lead, and we had an African American lead, and then we had Caucasian leads. And we didn't just deal with, oh, he cheated on me. Like we dealt with race issues and drug issues and alcohol issues and death. Like we dealt with stuff on a Saturday morning sector, right? That
Yeah.
Saturday morning television about stuff that these kids now look back on, and we we changed their lives, they say. And like to me, like I'll get choked up talking about it, but like to have a fan come up to me and say, "You changed my life for the better," and I'm just like, what do you say to that? That's something that a doctor does. That's something that our
Mm.
Lord does. That's something that someone a hell of a lot more powerful than I am does. But the power of television is so magnetic, and it's so powerful that can happen. So for me, it was that would no was an acceptable answer. Now in business, there's times that no is not an acceptable answer, right? So you play that, like for me, like auditioning, like when I go in on an audition, I'm like, no is an unacceptable answer. You are going to hire me. I'm going to figure out what I have to do to get you to hire me,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Mark had some really cool storylines, had some really really awesome stuff. I was always the butt of the joke. Sly was, my cousin was always so like anti good Winkle, bad Winkle kind of thing, and he always thought he was the good Winkle, and I was the bad Winkle, but he was the troublemaker Winkle. It was very very weird. And Michael and my relationship on camera versus off camera were polar as well, because on camera we were kind of always at each other's tips, but now behind the camera we were all best buds, all of us.
Yeah, that's a credit to the entire creative team. There's nothing more special than getting up on a Saturday and watching a show that's had this impact. And you answered my next question, but one of the benefits of television as a medium, especially one that's gone on for as many seasons as Dreams has, is that the creative team gets to know the cast better. They're able to shape storylines based on their performances and their interpretations of these characters. Was there a storyline of Mark's that was influenced by you? And because he was so polar from who you were, how did you find your way into this character?
um it's kind of a twofold question. I think the drinking and driving episode sort of was spawned off by me. When I was 15 in my hometown, I had lost a dear friend to a drinking and driving accident. They passed away actually, and they weren't driving, but they had left a party intoxicated and ran out into a road and ended up getting killed. And so I started a company years later, due to the credit of a student of mine. That she said, you need to have a company and you need to talk about that. You need to, and I never really put two and two together, that I remember having that conversation with our writers about that. But I started a company, back now 20 years ago, called Dangerous Curves, right? And Dangerous Curves on the Road of Life. And
Mm.
it's my anti-bullying, anti-drinking, anti-drugs campaign that I go around the country and I talk to middle schools, elementary school, high schools, colleges, and then executives about the effects of bullying and drinking and drugs and all this stuff. And then I started a spinoff on that company called Dangerous Words for my bullying campaign that I was on. So I think that storyline spawned from an interview or something that I had done in a magazine at one time or another. And then I was on the show, and when it's this funny story, I was dating a gal, and that true hometown romance, like we fell in love in high school. I went to college, living in Los Angeles, and she was flying back and forth to hang out with me. And I got on the show, and she did not like the idea of not me being on a television show. I don't think that's what it was. I think she didn't like the idea of what that was going to bring, you know, whether it be the Hollywood parties or the Hollywood lifestyle.
Yeah.
She was a small town girl, right? And she liked her small town world. So we broke up, and it crippled me. And I mean, it was like any relationship would, right? But I really had, outside of my family in Pittsburgh and my family in LA, which was the dreams, I had nobody else. I would go home at night and it's just me and my four walls. Yeah, I'm on a television show. Yeah, I'm okay financially. But I'm still alone. And I know coming to work a couple of weeks thereafter, I was still kind of in
Mm.
that lull. So I think the whole Jenny episodes will always have Aspen. I think that probably stemmed from that, because I was able to channel some really good emotions due to that. And ironically enough, that girl that I was dating at that time when we broke up, her name was Jenny. So
Mm.
again, I don't know if that to be true or not, but it seems kind of true, you know.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And then how did you find your way into this character, given your
um,
last answer about being?
I had moved to Los Angeles. I was there literally. I'm not kidding, Kevin, when I tell you that I was there 11 days. Like I was the lucky, right? And I don't know. I wasn't a great actor. I wasn't very good looking. I don't know what it was, but I got a manager. Her name was Beverly Dean, and Beverly Dean was friends with Peter Engel, and Peter was doing auditions for the character of Mark, and they had, I don't know how many. I had heard originally that there was 500 kids that auditioned for it. Then I heard later on that there's 5,000 kids. And they did a nationwide search. I don't know what it truly was, but I went in there on my 11th day of being in LA, and I had an audition for it, and that was just with Robin Lippin, which was our casting director for the show. And I went in and I saw Robin, and I got a call back to Robin, so I went back and I did that call back. And then I got a call back again, and I went back to Franco Barrio, which was one of our producers at the time, and a handful of others. And then on the fourth time, I went to Peter Engel. He's the executive producer of the show. And then afterwards, I went to network, and I had to do a network test. So it was a 5-time process audition, in the midst of still auditioning for, Party Five. And
Yeah.
I tested on with the Fox show and with NBC on the same day, and the Dreams offer came in after Party of Five. Like it was like, so I think, I don't know, maybe Dreams didn't really want me. Maybe someone else turned it down. Who knows? But that's how it came about, and it was right place, right time. And everyone was like, I had to kind of look like Sly, but I had to be different than Sly, but we had to have similarities. So I guess it was kind of a bunch of puzzle pieces that had to fit together to make it work.
I feel like California Dreams was your big break very early on, and since then you've branched into directing, producing, and writing. How have those experiences behind the camera impacted the way that you approach your work on screen as an actor and vice versa?
My big break was probably what was Lorenzo's Oil. That was like my real introduction to the industry, like full on, like this is what I want to do. I had done a lot of work prior to that, but this was the thing. And that was film, and I was like, oh, I'm doing film. I'm doing film. I'm doing film. And then I got Dreams, and I was like, oh wow, this is a whole different. When you're talking about a 4-camera setup, and you're getting to work with Don Barnhart, the late Don Barnhart, that worked with Jimmy, with James Burrows and Patrick Maloney, and then Miguel, all these amazing directors that did us. I learned so much from being on camera about how to be behind the camera, just from them and the way that they communicated. And doing a 4 camera setup is wicked cool. Like, it's so cool to be able to like you're doing a full scene, and you got 4 cameras picking them all up, and you're not doing 55 takes like you do in films. So after the show got canceled, I got cast very quickly into a Stephen King film called Children of the Corn with Miramax, and that was Eva Mendes's feature film debut. So I did that with Greg Vaughn and Stacey Galloon, and the late Alexis Arquette was in that. And it was this fantastic role. And I was up for the lead, and then I ended up being put in as the lead killer because I looked too much like somebody else. So it was this weird kind of dichotomy. So they ended up bleach blonding my hair, and that changed me. And so there's a moral where I'm going with all this. I had to change my looks to do something that I loved, and I didn't like that. Like hire me because of not the way that I look. Hire me because of what I have inside, right? But I look too much like somebody else to be cast in this role. So we're going to give you. It wasn't a lesser role. It was still a lead, but I was trying to dovetail on this Mark Winkle good boy thing, and then they put me in as the lead killer, which was, hindsight now, was awesome, right? Now, because it opened up a whole new fan base for me, and the whole horror genres and everything else. So being that, and then after that, I was kind of like, I told my dad and my manager and my team, I was like, I don't know that I want to do that kind of work anymore. Like, where someone wants me to be something that I'm not, or that's acting. So it turned into this whole psychological thing.
Yeah.
So like, I'm gonna start directing. I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring, and I'm gonna direct. I didn't know my butt from a hole in the ground. I had no. I'm like, yeah, put the camera there, and we'll put some lights up, and we'll film a scene. I felt like I was like the lion from the Wizard of Oz. Put them up. I had no idea what I was doing. And I made my first film that I did. It wasn't even a film; it was a television show, and it was called Ghost Story Chronicles, that I got to direct. And we did 9 episodes. It aired on USA, and it did really, really well in the ratings. And then, all my kids aged out, and I was like, I'll move on. So then I directed my first film called Fighting a War of My Own. And I couldn't find an actor to play the role. So I ended up playing the role in it. So now I'm directing a film that I'm in,
Mm.
and it did well. Like, it won all these awards. I'm like, okay, maybe this works. So then I directed another film that I subsequently got put into as well because we couldn't find the actor. That sounds like I was trying to do this, but I wasn't. And then that film flopped. I'm like, okay, so this recipe doesn't work. And then I got a great producing partner, Lisa, and we started producing films together. And why I keep looking up is because I'm looking at the
Yeah.
wall of fame and wall of shame sometimes. And these, I've just on this wall there, I've got 10 pictures that I produced in my company and that I directed as well, and then another 15 or 20 that didn't make the wall because they weren't as good as the ones that are on the wall. But I think being on the show and like kind of the regularity of doing that, and hearing the way that the industry works, and hearing the producers and the writers and the director and the makeup artist and all of them, and how they collaborate to make California Dreams or whatever it may be. I became a team player, right? You got to have someone at the head of the ship. You have to. You got to have a captain. You got to. No choice. But I was never afraid to delegate. I was never afraid to say, hey, I knew what to do. I could run a camera. I could run lights. I knew how to do sound. I knew what makeup. I knew all of that. But I didn't need to know it, because if I put the right people in the right place, magic happens. And I learned that from California Dreams. Like, because we never had a hiccup on that show. And if we did, we never knew about it. Like, as a cast, we never knew. Like, they would give us scripts. If a joke wouldn't land, less than 9 hours later, we'd have a new joke. And if the costume didn't fit, less than an hour later, we'd have a costume that did. Like, there was always problem solving going on, and we never knew. So I learned so much about the industry that way. I also learned a lot of what not to do. There's things you just don't do. You don't don't overthink the simplest things, right? Like, I overthought Mark in one episode, and I remember one of the writers coming up to me, and he just literally grabbed me by the shoulders, and I won't say the exact phrase in which he said, But he grabbed me by the shoulders and it was like, what in the actual blank did he blank, blank, blank are you doing right now? He goes, all week you've been doing amazing on this. Now today on tape day, like, where are you? And I was like, I want it to be the best. And he goes, it is. Just stop trying. So and I remember him telling me, it was Ron Solomon. He came up to me and he says, Nike's advertisement, man, just do it. Don't think about it, just do it. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, dude. So I was able to like strip that armor of fear of wanting to be the best that I can and just do what it is that I got hired to do. Um, so I learned an awful lot on the show, an awful lot.
It feels like your career is very similar to the show where it was ahead of its time, where I think back then, if you were going to act, you were pigeonholed just to being an actor, but you branched out into all these different disciplines. And perfect segue again to the next question, but you're also known for as somebody who keeps a lot of things from the different projects that they've worked on. What is the
Yeah.
favorite keepsakes from Dreams? And how are you able to take all these things about the creative team knowing?
Well, I have I have the original drum head for the front of the
Yeah.
California Dreams. My dad stole it. Like it was my dad never missed an episode of my show, right? He lived in Pittsburgh. He would fly out every Thursday night and he would get to LA. I'd pick him up at the airport after our network run through Thursday night. I'd pick him up and call time was Friday morning. It was like 7 a.m. for the boys, 8 a.m. And we'd have a camera record all day, and then that evening did a live studio audience. And my dad would fly in for it. Well, on rap day, when we finally got our walking papers, for lack of a better term, they said, "Yeah, well, today's the last day, guys. So grab some of the stuff that you want from your wardrobe closet and all that stuff." And so everyone just kind of went, and my dad didn't. My dad just kind of like crept on set. He took that one. I have the original Sharkies
Yeah.
shirt, but the Sharkies one, not like I had Jake's for the longest time. And then I gave it to him because my dad's a hoarder. My dad's like, yeah, I'm digging this, I'm digging. My dad walked out like 350 pounds. So I got that, and then I got the one of the Sharky menus framed up there. And then I got just a handful of like other like little things. But every show, film, television show that I've ever been on,
Yeah.
I've somehow inadvertently stole something. Like, so I'm like, you're
You
not going to read
borrowed.
this again. It's mine, but it's mine. I used it. And it's stupid. It's nostalgic for some. When I die, it's gonna go into some dumpster somewhere. But like my dad was always a keeper, right? He always
Yeah.
kept everything. And I've got if my office is a mess right now, I'd take you for a tour. But like I have like every business card that I ever had, is framed on a wall right now because it's like I need to keep that. Why? I don't know. I just do. So, but yeah. So and then on our wardrobe, I have a couple of flannels that Mark wore. I think I still have a pair of pants. They wouldn't fit me. But I just some nostalgic stuff like that I have.
So great to be surrounded in your office by everything that you've worked on and get those creative juices flowing. Outside of everything that you've done in this industry, you're also a teacher now. Having had all
Yeah.
the success that you've had throughout your career, what advice do you give your drama students?
No is an unacceptable answer, and I know that's the opposite of what we were talking about earlier on. In our industry, like no is an unacceptable answer. You got to figure out why. Tom Hanks said it best when you're walking into a picture. He goes, "Be on time, know your lines, and come in with a head full of ideas." Right. And for my kids, and I teach high school, and it's not self-proclaimed. This is just facts. I have the best theater program in the state
Yeah.
of Florida. And it's not. It's not because of me. We've won every accolade that you can win. Like we have, you name a competition, we've been there, done that, and we have the trophies and hardware to prove it. So I've got an amazing program, but it all starts again. It comes back, and I never give myself credit where credit is due. But it always comes back to you have to have somebody at the helm of the ship. And my headmaster at my school lets me do my job. He doesn't micromanage me. I've got an amazing team that aren't below me; they're next to me, right? If I'm the director, you are also directing. You are all like we're a team, even though I get the accolades at the end of it. We're a team. So my thing is I remind the kids that there's no small parts, just small actors. Um, you're not above anybody in this cast. If you're an ensemble member, you are equally as important as the lead. And if you're the lead, you're equally as important as my ensemble. I don't put up with the crap. I don't put up with the drama inside the drama. I don't put up with it.
Mm.
So my advice is don't give up. Fight for what you want. No is not an acceptable answer. Slow down, slower, lower, and listen. Slow down your dialogue, lower your voice 1 octave, and listen to what they're telling you. And no is an unacceptable answer, right? Hell, if someone would have told me 20 years ago that I was going to be on that I wouldn't be on a television show, or that I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that, the attitude in which I had back then, I probably would have punched him. I probably would have. My daddy told me when I was a kid, he goes, "So what's your backup plan to being an actor?" So I don't need a backup plan, dude. To be an actor. He goes, "No, what's your backup plan?" I'm going to be an actor. And he goes, "No, you have to have something to fall back on." I said, "I'll become a plumber. I'll help everybody else flush their dreams down the toilet because I'm going to be an actor." And I did. And it was because I had the support and the love of my dad and my family. I had a drive, right? This industry is 98% want, desire, and need, with 2% talent. You got to want to be an actor more than you want
Mm.
breath, right? And that's the truth. And the sacrifices in which I have made and other entertainers have made to be in this industry, those sacrifices are real, right? And I tell my students, I'm like, look, if this is the journey in which you're going to embark upon, understand those sacrifices that you're going to do are 100% real. And you might not like them. You might miss prom. You might miss your graduation. You might miss, I missed my daughter's first time she was walking.
Mm.
Thank God I didn't miss her birth, but I missed their first words, like stuff that you can never get back because of this industry. But that's the sacrifices we make, right? So that's the kind of advice I give my kids. And then the last thing I tell them is, don't become an actor. Just don't. Just don't do it. Like, all the sacrifices, you're gonna hear no. But no, it's because it's a hard business, right? It's
Yeah.
crazy hard, and it's so much to do. You can't change it. Like, it has nothing to do with you. Like, you're getting callbacks. Okay, you're doing good. You're getting close. Okay, I'm getting close, but I'm not booking. Why? And they're like, you're just not right for this role. I'm like, yeah, but how many times do I got to hear the word no before I'm going to hear the word yes? And you're going to hear it thousands of times. And if your skin's not thick enough, I've been too tall, too short, too good looking, not good looking enough, to this, to that, and that's the word two, TOO, right? And you got to play the rule of twos, right? Sometimes you're going to be too short, too tall, too this, and you just got to find the right two. And eventually, those twos they're gonna come together. And that two for me was Mark Winkle, and then it was Francesca
Mm.
O'Doni, and then it was Jordan Bitwinder, and then it was Zane, and then it was like those twos came together. And if I focused on all the negative of the shows I didn't get versus all the positives of the shows and films that I did get, right? Which one outweighs? Yeah, I got turned down a hell of a lot more than I got, but this is what I have. I've got the memories and the dreams, literally and
Yeah.
figuratively. So it's just don't give up. Don't give up.